Hi everyone, my name is Latimer and I'm currently an occupational therapy student at Boston University completing my doctoral capstone project on yoga for Parkinson's disease. I'm very excited to get started with our class today, and I'm going to be going over some safety recommendations and our setup for the class. So first things first, before you start class today, make sure that it's an appropriate time of the day for you to exercise. So that means that you are well rested and you've taken your medication for the day to manage your symptoms. Be sure to listen to your body throughout class, and if you feel any pain or discomfort in any poses, please stop where you are and get out of the pose or try a different variation that I will show throughout the class. And if the pain continues, consult your doctor or physiotherapist for some other options. As far as our setup for class, you will need a yoga mat or just a soft, comfortable surface for you to practice on. Some of the class will be in a chair, some of the class will be on the floor. So you want it to be squishy and comfortable enough for your knees and your joints as you get down on the ground. You will need at least one chair for class today, preferably a chair without arms, but if you only have a chair with arms, that will work perfectly fine. You will want a water bottle with you, and I encourage practicing next to a wall. As you can see, I will be doing. Throughout class, I'll be showing how we can use the wall for some of these exercises. If you don't have a wall that is available, I recommend a sturdy table or a second chair. And if you know that you don't want to get on the floor today, you'll want a second chair to do some of the postures seated using the other chair instead of getting on the floor. Some other equipment that you might use, props to help increase comfort in your practice, are yoga blocks. I have two. If you don't have a yoga block, you can use a book or stack of books to bring the ground closer to you. You could use a water bottle like what I have, or even a second chair to use as a yoga block and bring the ground closer to you. I will also be using a strap throughout our class today. This is what my yoga strap looks like. If you don't have a strap, you can use a bathrobe tie, which is what I have here, or even a belt. And lastly, I have a blanket, a yoga blanket, but you can use any blanket for while we get on the floor, especially for our knees if you've had any past knee injuries. Be sure to modify physical postures as needed today, especially balancing postures. If you know that you're feeling a little bit off today, take things easy and do what feels right. I recommend practicing barefoot, but if you feel more comfortable, you can have non-slip socks or non-slip shoes on too. And lastly, if you have a mirror in front of you, that may be helpful for some visual feedback to make adjustments as needed, but it's not necessary for the class. Lastly, for safety, please make sure that there is another adult at your residence, and if you are alone, just make sure that there's somebody you could call and contact in case anything happens. And I even encourage you to have your loved ones join these classes with you to add in that social component and that social support for these virtual classes. Thank you so much, and let's get started. All right, so getting started with our class today in a comfortable seated position on a chair. This can also be on the floor if you prefer. Relaxing the shoulders back and down away from the ears, sitting up nice and tall. If your feet don't quite touch the floor, you can always bring a block on its small height underneath the feet for some extra grounding. Starting to soften the gaze, looking down towards the floor, or maybe even closing the eyes here. Beginning to bring our full attention and awareness to the breath, flowing in and out of the body. Not trying to change the breath in any way here, but just noticing without judgment. Taking these first few moments of class to just arrive on our mats. Letting go of our to-do lists for the day, anything that happened before this, anything else we have planned. Just giving ourselves this yoga class for our bodies and for our minds to refresh and be present. Moving into our diaphragmatic breath or belly breath. If you'd like, you can bring one hand to the belly and one hand on the chest. This is often also called a three-part breath, and that just helps us think about it in a way to help us expand and send the breath all the way into the belly. So on our next inhale, in through the nose, air rushes in through the nose, the chest rises and expands, the belly starts to fill and rise. And on our exhale, the belly releases, the chest falls out the nose. Inhaling in through the nose, the chest fills, the belly fills. And exhaling out the belly, up the chest, out the nose. This three-part breath, inhaling nose, chest, belly, sending the breath all the way to the base of the belly. And exhaling, the belly falls, chest falls, out the nose. Inhaling nose, chest, belly. Exhaling belly, chest, out the nose. Continuing with this three-part breath at our own pace. When we're ready, beginning to flutter the eyes open here. We can move the block out of the way if we had one under us. Coming to the edge of our seat, feet are nice and flat on the floor. Sitting up nice and tall here. We're going to come into our Om chanting. Just a reminder, this Om chant has three parts. Ah, that the vibrations start in the belly. Oh, the vibrations are in the chest. Vibrations are in the throat and out the mouth. So sitting up nice and tall, we're going to inhale, reaching the arms out and up, spreading the fingers big here. Big breath in. An option here on our exhale to chant Om with stretching the arms out. Om. Inhaling, reaching out and up. Big breath in, the gaze lifts. Two more. Inhaling, big breath in. Projecting loud. This time on our inhaling, reaching out and up, the gaze lifts towards the sky. And on our exhale, we come to our cactus arms, our goalpost arms, shoulder blades squeeze together back behind us, Spreading the fingers here, the gaze lifts, chest is proud, big breath in. And exhaling, rounding out, tucking in the chin, hugging our imaginary friend here. Inhaling, opening up the chest, cactus arms. And exhaling, rounding out, hugging our imaginary friend. Moving between the two here. And if our shoulders are getting tired, we can always modify this by clasping the fingers behind the head. Inhaling, elbows come out, chest is proud. And exhaling, chin to chest, rounding out, elbows come together. So just moving through whichever variation of this feels right today. Relaxing the hands. From here, we're going to come into our goddess pose flow. So I'll face you so you can see me a little bit better. You'll want your blocks nearby and on their tall height on either side. Coming to the edge of the seat, sitting up nice and tall. Feet go wide, heels in, toes out. So our feet are at a diagonal. Coming back through center here, adjusting your blocks as needed. What we're going to do is we're going to bring the right hand down towards the block on its tall height. If you don't have a block or it doesn't feel stable enough, you can always bring the right elbow to the right thigh. And inhaling, reaching that left arm up and overhead. I want us to focus more on lifting the chest up than worrying about reaching over. The gaze is up towards the sky. We're making one long side body stretch all the way from our left hip through our pinky finger. Big breath in. And exhaling, reaching a little further. Inhaling, lifting with the left arm. And exhaling, left hand to block or left elbow to knee. Right arm sweeps up. 2 breaths here. And on our next inhale, lifting. And exhaling, reaching up and over. Inhaling to lift. And exhaling to the other side. And just alternating between the two, using the core in between as much as we can. Maybe you're able to be really light on the block to engage the core even more. Breathing into the side body, big inhale. Meeting back in center here. And from here, from our goddess pose, we're going to come into a goddess pose hold. So hands can stay on the thighs. We don't need our blocks anymore. We can set them to the side of the mat. Hands on the thighs, hands on the hips, or maybe hands to heart center here. And we'll start to shift the weight forward into the feet, maybe so much so that the seat starts to hover off of the chair, similar to our chair flow. So our seat is hovering off. We're tucking our pelvis in underneath us, drawing the belly button in to engage the core, squeezing the upper back together. 3 more breaths here. If you'd like an extra challenge, maybe we inhale, both arms reaching up, big fingers spread. So from our mountain pose here, we can always stand directly in front of the wall, heels to the wall, palms facing out in front of us. It's optional to have the block in between your thighs as a nice reminder to hug the outer hips in, lifting up the kneecaps, plugging in through all four corners of the feet. Doing our best to get the back of the shoulders and upper back to touch the wall. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, breathing here. And then beginning to shift the weight in this mountain pose. So shifting side to side, forward and back. Hands can be at our sides, maybe hands to heart center. You can always use the wall for balance, or you can always stand behind the chair and hang on to the back of the chair for balance here. From our mountain pose, we're going to start making our way into our tabletop position here. So grabbing a blanket for underneath the knees as some extra cushion or support. Everything we do on the floor can also be done in a chair as a seated variation. So just watch the video in the corner if you'd like to do the seated variation. So we're in our tabletop here, spreading all 10 fingers, drawing the belly button in towards the spine. And from here, we're going to come into our spinal balance. So engaging the core, drawing the belly button in towards the spine. We'll kick the right leg back behind us. The toes are on the floor to start. And maybe if we're ready, we can start to inhale. The right knee lifts up back behind us, straightening the leg, flexing the right foot. What tends to happen sometimes is we open up our right hip. So thinking about pointing our right hip down towards the floor to keep the hips squared. And when we're ready on our inhale, we can reach that opposite left arm up overhead. Gaze is still towards the mat here, drawing the belly button in. Inhaling to extend through the foot and the hand. And maybe on our exhale, elbows come to knees, finding a little bit of a crunch. Inhaling to extend and exhaling to crunch. Moving through both here. And on our next exhale, releasing down, shaking out the arms and the legs if you need to before we switch sides. And when we're ready on our next inhale, we'll reach that left leg back, toes come on the mat to start. And when we're ready, we can reach that left leg back behind us. If this feels painful for the hip at all, we can always shorten the lever by bending that left leg. This can also be done seated. So with that left leg extended back behind us, inhaling, the opposite right arm reaches up and overhead. This is a balancing pose. We are using our core here, drawing the belly in and breathing still. Inhaling to lengthen through the feet and the hands. And exhaling, rounding out, elbow to knee. Inhaling to reach. And exhaling to crunch. Noticing any wobbles here. And that's just us. And coming into our locust pose here. Hands or palms down at our sides. And we can kind of do the same thing that we notice in our seated position. If you flip the palms up for a moment, notice the shoulders rounding down in front of the chest, and then flipping the palms back down towards the mat, thumbs reaching up towards the sky, and feeling the difference. The shoulders open, the shoulder blades squeeze together, and that is the action that we will be focusing on for our locust pose, is opening the chest, opening the heart, and squeezing the upper back muscles together. Inhaling, lifting through the heart, lifting through the hands. The hands are reaching back behind the toes. We're squeezing the shoulder blades together. And exhaling, releasing down. Inhaling, lifting the heart, lifting the gaze. The arms lift. We're squeezing the hands back together behind us, reaching towards the toes. And exhaling, melting down. One more. Inhaling, lifting through the heart, reaching through the toes, maybe even lifting up the legs here if you want an extra challenge, squeezing the glutes. And exhaling, melting down. Head comes to rest on the palms. And from here, taking our time, we're going to slowly meet in a seated position on top of our blanket. So coming to sit to one side, swinging the legs around. Our hips are on our blanket here. And we are going to come into our boat pose. So this is a core exercise. We can start with the hands underneath the thighs. We're lifting the chest, big breath in. And on our exhale, we'll start to shift the weight back just to where we notice the feet start to lightly maybe lift off of the mat. And we'll start with touching our toes on the mat, squeezing the legs together, drawing the belly button in here. And maybe this is what we're doing. Maybe we're alternating between coming up onto the toes, lifting back, lifting through the chest. Again, remembering from last class, there's a rope that's pulling your chest up, pulling your chest up. And exhaling, releasing down. Maybe this time we're able to lift the feet, maybe in line with the knees and chest. And if you want the extra challenge, we're hanging on to the bottom of the thighs, but maybe you reach forward, palms up, still keeping that same length through the chest. If you notice when you do that, when you let go, you start to round out and fall. Grab onto the thighs so that you can focus on lengthening through the spine, lifting with the chest to engage the same muscles. One more breath here. I know we're feeling it. And exhaling, feet come down. Moving the blanket if you'd like to. We're going to make our way all the way onto our backs here. So maybe moving the blanket underneath the head as a pillow. And then relaxing here on our next inhale. We'll come into a big smile. We're showing all of our teeth that we can, squeezing the apples of the cheeks, squinting the eyes. And exhaling, relaxing the face. 4 more times, moving with the breath. Inhaling, big smile. And exhaling, relaxing the face. Inhaling, big smile. And exhaling to relax. Inhaling, smile. And exhaling. Last one, making this as exaggerated and big as we can. Inhaling, big smile. And exhaling, relaxing the face. This time on our inhale, we're surprised. Eyebrows lift, big eyes, big mouth. And exhaling to relax the face. 4 more. Inhaling, big surprise. Opening the jaw up wide. And exhaling to relax. Inhaling surprise. And exhaling to relax. Inhaling, opening wide, seeing where we can grow in the face. Last one, inhaling surprise. And exhaling to relax. Closing the eyes here. Sometimes our Shavasana, this final relaxation, can be the most difficult pose sometimes, just to allow our minds and allow our bodies to be still. Breathing deep into the belly. And if we notice the mind wandering, just bringing our attention back to the breath. And on our next inhale, we'll bring both feet onto the mat, bending the knees. We'll inhale, reaching one arm up overhead. And on our exhale, we'll roll over to whatever side that was, safely coming off of our blocks if we're still in our fish pose. Bending the knees and just pausing here for a moment. Using the arm as a pillow. And then using that top hand, we'll start to press ourselves up to a comfortable seated position. And as always, just taking these last few moments of class to thank ourselves for carving the time out of our days for our yoga practice, and taking the time to honor our bodies for all it allowed us to do throughout our practice today. The light within me honors the light within each of you. Namaste.